Welcome to Short Times. Today we are going to quickly watch the 1981 film Time Bandits. Time Bandits is a fantasy and adventures movie about a little boy who unintentionally joins a group of time-traveling dwarves as they hop between centuries in search of treasure to steal. So let's get into the story. When Kevin is ordered to go to bed early one night, an armored knight on horseback suddenly appears from his wardrobe as he is about to drift off to sleep. Then he discovers himself in the center of a wooded clearing. As soon as Kevin stands up, the forest disappears and his bedroom returns to normal, as if nothing unusual had occurred. This time, his father enters through the door, screaming about all the noise Kevin was making and yelling at him to go to bed, while he studies a picture on his wall that is nearly exactly like the scene he had just seen. A knight riding a horse through a forest. The next night, Kevin goes back to bed armed with a Polaroid camera and a flashlight, ready to capture anything else that might decide to pop out of his cupboard. He has given up and is about to fall asleep when a troop of 6 strangely attired dwarfs emerge from his cupboard. When Kevin waves his light in their direction, they shiver and refer to him as the Supreme Being. They quickly turn against the innocent Kevin after learning who he really is, and blame him for acts he has no knowledge of. They shove him up against his photo wall while questioning him, and discover that it moves. Pushing harder on the wall while saying that they've discovered it, a tunnel is eventually revealed. Kevin's bedroom is suddenly overtaken by a scary head-shaped ghost who threatens them with great danger if they don't return the map they've taken from him. Kevin's picture-filled wall is still being pushed by the dwarfs. The face stays with them. While running, Kevin helps the dwarfs. The group falls into the pitch-black space beyond, as the wall soon gives way through an entrance at the end of the hallway. The dwarfs and Kevin unexpectedly fall from a hole in the sky in a relatively regular rural area. They had, it turns out, exploited a portal to return to Italy in 1796. At the time of the Second Battle of Castiglione, they break inside a castle where they locate Napoleon Bonaparte, watching local performers put on a comedy for him in a ruined theater. Until the puppeteer is shot and killed, Napoleon laughs along with the Punch and Judy show. He ignores the other performances before being instantly delighted when the dwarfs enter the stage and start to sing Me in My Shadow, a song that won't be created for another 130 years. Napoleon invites the performers to dinner and declares them to be his new generals, because he finds it amusing that people smaller than himself are performing. The dwarfs wait until Napoleon passes out from drinking wine and proceed to rob him of everything his forces had plundered and carry it out in a large tapestry. One of the true generals learns of their scheme and pursues them as they flee. The dwarfs locate a different portal and succeed in getting away. After that, they reach the Middle Ages. In the end, they break through the carriage's roof, upsetting betrothed couple Vincent and Pansy, who flee into the woods. The 6 dwarfs eventually reveal to Kevin that they served as designers for the Supreme Being, the universe's creator, creating all of the world's plants and wildlife. Kevin discovers the names of the dwarfs: Fidget, Strutter, Og, Wally, and Vermin, along with leader Randall. The dwarfs were demoted to fixing gateways in the space-time fabric after creating a particularly terrible tree. When they were rejected, out of spite, they stole the map showing the locations of the holes, which they are now utilizing to move about, take artifacts from throughout history, and become stinking rich. Kevin suggests they take a group photo with their map while they're counting their treasure. They discover that the couple they had landed on was being robbed by a motley crew of robbers. When they suddenly hear the cries of the couple, they follow the robbers and get caught in traps as a result. Once the thugs have been convinced that they are criminals, they are brought to Robin Hood, who sees their loot from Napoleon as wealth he can redistribute to the poor in the area. The dwarfs flee in anger as Hood distributes the loot, furious that their find has been taken away. An evil wizard known only as the Evil Genius or Ultimate Evil, who seeks the map for himself to remake the universe to his taste, is spying on this expedition secretly through mystical abilities. The evil genius complains briefly about the Supreme Being in the Fortress of Ultimate Darkness, claiming that slugs are evidence of his incapacity. Suddenly, one of his henchmen asks, "What about you? He made you." He is blown up by evil in return, saying, "Don't ever ask me another question like that. Nobody made me. I am incredibly evil. I created me." One more henchman tries his luck by stating, "So how does he manage to keep you here? How does he manage to keep you locked to the castle?" He is immediately blown up. Good question. Says Evil. I wouldn't mess about with butterflies and flowers if I were making the world. Initially, I would have used lasers. While the dwarfs consider what to do next, Ultimate Evil decides to speak through the mouth of one of the less intelligent dwarves using his magic, in order to convince the other dwarfs to search for the last resting place of the most amazing object in the world. The dwarfs begin to fight amongst themselves for the map until the Supreme Being rematerializes, which causes Kevin to enter the wrong time portal. Kevin accidentally helps King Agamemnon when he falls from a time portal in the skies after landing in a dry desert. Kevin is accepted into Agamemnon's royal court and treated as one of his sons, after accidentally helping him in killing a savage bull. Kevin hopes he could stay with the king forever, as he considers how his own life and family have been ignored. With his Polaroid camera, Kevin is documenting his stay in his new home while he is thrilled. But this will not last. A few days later, at Agamemnon's birthday celebration, the 6 dwarfs returned unexpectedly in yet another time-traveling heist. They stole Agamemnon's money, took Kevin with them, and left through a different time portal door. After landing on the famous luxury ship Titanic, Randall informs Kevin that he had looked at the chart more carefully and discovered that Og was correct. The most fabulous object in the world is located in the time of legends. The crew is compelled to look for the most amazing thing in the universe, which turns out to be the fortress of Ultimate Evil, while the boat starts to sink, leaving them helpless. Meanwhile, the evil genius starts to use his magical cloud to sway the course of the adventure, leading Kevin and the dwarfs to be carried away from the Atlantic Ocean's cold deep and into the ocean of the time of legends. The situation here gets even more unbelievable. A ship carrying Oger Winston and his human wife picks up the group. The group takes control of the ship, after overpowering Winston and throwing him and his wife overboard, but they only just manage to escape when their ship is attached to the head of a giant. The explorers escape and find themselves in a huge desert, after injecting a sleep potion into the giant's head to put him to sleep. The Fortress of Ultimate Darkness, where Evil himself resides, is where the dwarfs believe an epic treasure known as the most fabulous object in the world will be hidden during this time. The dwarfs are arguing and ignoring Randall's rule when they find an invisible glass-like wall in the middle of the desert. They accidentally knock down the wall by bashing a skull through it like a pane of glass. They pass through the angular gap to see Evil's stronghold looming menacingly on the other side. Once inside, Evil's shape-shifting skills immediately trick the dwarves into giving him the map. Evil holds them and Kevin captive in one of the countless cages that are suspended over a bottomless abyss. But the group undoes the lock and swings from cage to cage until they are back within the fortress hall. They are able to locate holes they could use to recruit support and collect the map by using a picture of the map Kevin had earlier taken. The dwarfs start carrying out their scheme. Randall and the other 4 dwarfs break off the path, while Kevin stays behind to try to lure away several of the evil genius's demon minions that chase him. Suddenly, characters from many decades, including several Roman archers, cowboys, a battle tank, knights, a future soldier, and the dwarfs appear to save Kevin. The cowboys try to capture Evil with their lassos, but when he starts spinning, they are launched into the air by the centrifugal force. A wicked-looking pole and a knife emerge from Evil's open head, freeing him from the chains that had been trying to bind him. When the archers fire their well-placed arrows at them in an effort to skewer them, Evil effectively transforms into a pincushion and returns the arrows to where they came from. Even if the motley crew makes what may be called a brave effort, all appears lost in their attempts to stop Avildoing. The Supreme Being then suddenly presents as a human being and transforms Evil into a brittle, pitch-black stone. While Randall tries to apologize to the Supreme Being for his group's conduct, the Supreme Being confesses that everything that had happened was actually all part of his plan. Later, he advises them not to touch Evil with their bare hands, and directs them to deposit its crumbling pieces into an English post box he has given to rid the world of it. One piece, which they are unaware of, slowly starts to rot. The Supreme Being pardons the dwarfs for their arrogance, decides that being reduced and getting a salary cut is a fair punishment, and then makes the announcement that it is time to leave. The Supreme Being and the dwarfs then depart with the time map in hand, leaving an unhappy Kevin behind to carry on the fight. However, the rotting bit of Evil soon starts to burn, and shortly after, Kevin is covered in a strange yellow-colored cloud of smoke. Almost immediately after waking up, Kevin discovers himself back in his bed. this time surrounded by a deep, black cloud of smoke. Just in time, 2 firefighters break down his bedroom door and carry him out of his blazing house. And Kevin is watching the fires licking at his house as firefighters spray it down and start putting them out. When one of the 2 firefighters who saved him passes by and inquires about his well-being. After that, Kevin notices the fireman again and realizes that he is the exact replica of King Agamemnon. Unsure and wondering whether it was all a dream, Kevin searches his pockets for any traces of his adventure. To his surprise, he discovers the Polaroid photos he took while exploring, proving that it wasn't all a dream after all. However, before Kevin can show his argumentative parents the pictures and documentation of his time-traveling exploits, another firefighter appears from the house carrying a burned toaster oven and claiming that it started the fire that had been left on overnight. His parents unlock the appliance, exposing the demonic rock chunk within that is smoking. When Kevin realizes that it was the cause of the fire, he exhales. "Dad, Mom," he says, "evil this is. Avoid touching it." But as usual, his ignorant parents disobey him and remove it anyway by touching it. When they both come into contact with the black rock, they both explode, leaving almost no trace. While his bad neighbors watch, Kevin is left all by himself and confused in the front yard to look back at the smoldering ashes of his demolished house and smoldering parents. The town, the globe, and the galaxy are all zoomed out to show their locations on the map of the Supreme Being. The movie is then concluded when the Supreme Being's hands roll up the map,